All right. Shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off by saying, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yahawashi, Kol Haloim La Yahawah, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem, Bachak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Aqua that's listening in. Yahweh Lord willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shwab on back at you with another lesson. And going into the title. All right. Lockdowns are definite. The ultimate lockdown on the way. All right. And I want to play a video that I got from YouTube that I ran across. All right. Basically going into these lockdowns. All right. And I'll go based off of that through the spirit. Lord willing is straight to the point. All right. So let me play that video.
That's rough. But hey, with Safe Flight, you can get that fixed any way you want.
Wait a second. It's like it's on commercial. But basically the title of this video, all right, of this YouTube video, I got it from, it says another lockdown is coming after huge oil shortage gets worse.
To say this, but energy lockdowns are coming and you better be prepared. With the conflict going on in the Middle East, oil prices are already rising, and countries in Southeast Asia have even started telling their residents to start rationing their energy and electricity. Now, you have to couple that with the fact that the United States just got a warning from Iran, basically saying that if we go after their power plants, they're going to go after the ones in Europe. Obviously, that would be horrible news. But if none of that happens, oil will continue to rise just based on this entire conflict and the strait being closed for how long it has been. Now, with the price of oil, everything else is going to go up, including and more so electricity. Just like COVID, they are going to basically tell you that you cannot go to work. You cannot use as much electricity as you're using. They have water bans in some places already, like California, Nevada. Hey, don't consume as much water. They're going to do the same exact thing with electricity, and they're going to monitor it and make sure that you don't use as much. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but this year we are having some wacky weather, and this summer is predicted to be one of the hottest on record. Couple that with the fact that our energy infrastructure is totally shot. Places like Texas, we can't even go an entire winter without our electricity shut off because the grid is too tapped out. Now, with all of this going on, this is being viewed as an opportunity from the elite. They want to hollow out the middle class, and they don't care that you can't afford your energy. They want two classes, the rich and the elite, and they want the poor people. They want to make this look like a third world country. So you need to have a plan in place. That's facts
right there. All right, we've been saying that for years, all right, that they're going to take away that middle class, all right, starting with the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, all right, because when you read Revelations, the 13th chapter, right, verse 16, it clearly tells you that there's going to be no middle class, right? When you go into Revelations 13 and 16, it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive an M-A-R-K in the right hand or on their foreheads. You see, so it said rich and poor, showing you that there's going to be, all right, two classes. There's not going to be a middle class of, you know, basically middle class. Okay, they've been trying to get rid of that middle class for a long time, all right, because the middle, that's pretty much the average American, okay, here in America, all right, they all live in that middle class where they're able to just get by, right, and be able to, you know, have a little something to do with their money, okay, being able to, you know, plan out their little trips, you know, do little things on the side, all right, with a little bit of money that they have left over, okay? But see, for years, they've been trying to crash the society to the point where there is no middle class and it's just rich and poor and mostly poor, all right? Because the rich is going to be the elite, the 1% that rule the world, okay? They're always going to be on top, right? The rich get richer and the poor get poorer, right? So now it's going to be no more, you know, just getting by and being able to have a little bit of money. Now you're just going to be completely poor. And we've been saying that for years, that all these people here in America are going to feel that that tight squeeze of being poor, okay? You're all going to see, they laugh at us and call us poor, and they call us that we're bums and all that. Well, everybody here in America is about to be bums. All right, you're all going to be on the same exact page unless you are of the top 1% that rules the world. All right. And for you to be part of that 1%, all right, to be part of that Illuminati, all right, you have to come from their bloodline. So remember, the ones that rule the world, all right, are, you know, go back to being Amalek, go back to being Esau, Edom, all right. And what does it tell you in Obadiah? That I have made you small among the heathen, all right. So their population is very small, okay. So for you to be part of their lineage, all right, is like almost impossible, man, because the Lord has made them small among all these other heathens, okay? And again, the ones that rule the world are part of that lineage, all right? And then you have, you know, these presidents, all right? The government pretty much are the ones that are in cahoots, into not in cahoots, but they're into that, they're part of that lineage. All right, so it's basically all the ones that rule the world. All right, and the rest of these people, all right, are nobodies to them. Right, so that means that they're going to be mostly poor than anything out here in society. All right, and that shows you that in that precept right there. Right, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor. It didn't say rich, middle class, and poor. It said rich and poor, showing you there's only going to be two different types of groups, right? Free and bond to receive a MARK in their right hand or in their foreheads, okay? And ultimately being into this lockdown, right, which is all based on the energy crisis, all right? And they also got different ways, other ways to attack it, right? They could attack it through a variant, all right? Telling you that there's a whole brand new disease, okay? But you know, the way it's looking like it's going to come through the way of this energy crisis, right? And, okay, we've heard from Mr. Kill Gates himself in the past that there was going to be another lockdown. We've heard it from Klaus Schwab, okay, telling you, I did a video on it 2 years back, a year back, all right, basically telling you to that a cyber attack, okay, would make the C-19 look like basically like a joke. He didn't say it in those words, all right, but just to shorten it up, basically it will make it look like a joke, okay? You had Kill Gates that basically said what? That the first pandemic didn't get their attention, right? But the second, all right, the second one was going to get their attention, all right? And very well, this will definitely get their attention with this energy crisis, all right, because this is concerning, you know, their lives, man. This is the matter of life and death, okay? Without this energy, okay, as that guy was just saying, you know, the summer's going to be hot. People going to go crazy. People going to get very, they're going to go into desperation. People going to get hangry in those days, man. People going to get very annoyed because of the heat. And without power to turn on your fans, your air conditioner, man, people are just going to be in a whole nother level, man. Okay. Then on top of that, they're going to try to starve you and thirst you, all right, by cutting off your natural resources from coming in, all right. That's what's going right now in the Strait of Hormuz, man. You have Iran that's able to basically control everything around the world, all right, through exports and imports, all right, by closing off the strait over there, okay? And that's the plan. That's always been the plan by these elites, okay, to starve off the world, because this is how they're going to issue in, all right, their NWO, all right? So these lockdowns will eventually lead, okay, to that device, that implantable device, all right, which is the RFID, all right, because that's going to collapse. This lockdown will basically collapse the whole entire dollar. Like the guy said, there ain't going to be no work, no jobs. They're not going to allow you to go to work, all right, because you have to conserve on energy. You know, your job has to conserve on energy, can't use all this electricity, okay? So it's the perfect storm, all right, to usher in their NWO, okay? So let's go back to what he was saying.
Obviously, inflation is going to go through the roof. There's two different scenarios. One, they're going to print a whole bunch of money and give everyone stimulus checks to help you afford the energy, in which case inflation and the value of all your money you have saved will completely deplete. Or they're going to...
And that goes back to them training your mind and gradually showing you that you have to be dependable on that, on this society, okay? That's what they did in 2020. They were giving you stimulus checks. People loved it. They were sitting at home collecting money, all right? That's why they've been, you know, basically introducing this UBI, okay, universal basic income, all right? Get paid at home and do nothing and get paid by your government. It's like everybody going on a welfare. All right. Remember, you're just going to take away the middle class. So everyone's going to pretty much be poor. And usually who are the ones that run to welfare, man, to get government assistance and government help? It's always the poor. All right. So that means the whole world is going to be poor and they're all going to be needing some type of government assistance to be able to get by. You see, our assistance is YAHAWAH'S. We don't need nothing from America. We don't need nothing from Esau or anything he has to offer. Right. Because we know that we are not ignorant to Satan's devices, right? It doesn't have to be just an actual device. Devices can mean just evil schemes, all right? So he has all these different schemes, all right, to draw you in, okay? As a matter of fact, you go into Habakkuk, all right? This is Habakkuk 1:15, and it reads, and it reads, they take up all of them with the angle, they catch them in their net. All right. So these elites are acting like fishermen right now. All right. And what they're doing is they put in different types of baits on their hooks. All right. And they're trying to draw you into their net. Okay. As it tells you in Psalms 10 and let's grab it from 9. It says, he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He does catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor ones may fall by his strong ones. You see, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to come and humble himself. How is he going to humble himself? Through his mouth, right? An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but he imagined how to throw thee into a pit. So what he's going to do is pretty much humble himself and act like he's going to be there to help you, right? And as the scriptures say, though he pretend to help thee, he shall undermine thee. Okay, so he gonna act like he's humbling himself. Oh, I'm gonna be humble. We're gonna help you. You know, we're gonna get you through this. We're gonna get America through this. But meanwhile, he's just been trying to catch you in his net, right? So going back to Habakkuk 1:15, they take up all of them with the angle. They catch them in their net and gather them in their drag. Therefore, they rejoice and are glad. You see. So they catch them in their net and they gather them in their drag, right? Catching them all together, just like it tells you in Habakkuk 2, right? And 6, it says, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people, right? And that's going to be by the way of his technology, all right? By the means of those miracles, okay? By those cunning words, the cunning hunter that he is, right? He gonna draw you into his net, and he gonna give you the surprise attack, right? This is why we tell you not to lean into the shadow of Egypt, right? This is Isaiah 30 and 31:1, and it reads, woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong, but they look not unto the Holy One of Israel, neither seek the Lord YAHAWAH'S. You see? So woe means destruction to them that go down to Egypt for help. Okay. Because you're trusting in their horses, you're trusting in their chariots, meaning you're trusting in their power. Okay. Instead of turning to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai for the actual, for you to be delivered. Okay. You're basically you're putting the deliverance in their hands to deliver you. You see, and that's going to be your confusion and your shame, right? Let's go down to 30:1 in Isaiah. It says, woe to the rebellious children, saith the Lord Yahweh, that take counsel, but not of me, and that cover with a covering, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, that walk down to Egypt, that walk to go down into Egypt, and have not asked at my mouth to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, and to trust in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall their strength of Pharaoh be your shame, and the trust in the shadow of Egypt your confusion. All right. Why? Because you have trusted in oppression. Right. Let's jump down to 12. It says, wherefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Holy One of Israel. Right. Because ye have despised this word and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon. Therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. You see? So basically you have trusted in oppression rather than trusting Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And it says, and perverseness, and stay thereon, meaning that they continue, okay, to trust in oppression. Even though they know they're being oppressed, they're going to continue to stay trusting in the oppression. All right. That's that Stockholm syndrome. All right. Because they have been oppressed so long that they actually believe their enemies. They believe their oppressor. They trust in their oppressor. All right. And it actually feels good for them to keep trusting in their oppressor and their oppressor, because they have made lies their refuge. Right. Because at hell and death, they are in agreement. Okay. They agree with whatever their oppressor tells them to do. You see, and that's why, all right, they're going to get sucked into the system, this beast system, right? So let's go back to that video.
Value of all your money is going to go through your energy. They want two classes, the rich and the elite, and they want the poor people. They want to make this look like a third world country. So you need to have a plan in place. Obviously, inflation is going to go through the roof. There's two different scenarios. One, they're going to print a whole bunch of money and give everyone stimulus checks to help you afford the energy, in which case inflation and the value of all your money you have saved will completely deplete. Or they're going to keep at it with the high interest rates. And
yeah, that was crucial what he said, right? He said that they eventually will deplete it. All right, to deplete it means to basically delete it. All right. So here it is. They're going to give you these stimmy checks, right? They're going to help you, and then somehow they're going to try to deplete that. How are they going to try to deplete that? By introducing that system to you, right? All right, well, we'll take away all your debt. All right, if you just bow down and worship this system and take this MOTB, which is this RFID, and that will be your solution to everything, right? Order, ab, chaos, problem, reaction, solution. All right, they've created this problem. They already know your reaction to these things. All right, and they've had this solution for a while. They just have to find the right type of scenario to usher it in. All right, and this will be the perfect way, all right, for them to do it. They gain your trust. You go after the bait. You take on to their stimuli techs and whatever other help that they have and all these different programs, right? But if you want to continue in society, continue getting these programs and continue getting these checks, all right, well, you have to do something for us. You have to bow down to our image. You have to bow down to our system, okay? And if you don't, well, then there you go. You get depleted. You get deleted, you know? You're pretty much on your own. You cannot be a partaker of this society, which ultimately being a non-partaker to the society leads to, you know, a beheading, death, okay? Right? So let's continue.
Still dramatically go up. Get smart, have a plan in place, start diversifying where your money is going. Hard times are coming, so please be prepared.
Yeah, and I've been saying this for
a long time. And at the end of the day, it's not about diversifying your money, man, because all dollars are going to collapse, man. Money's going to be worthless, right? As the scriptures say, riches profit not in the day of wrath, okay? None of that's going to be able to exist in that time of judgment. All right. As a matter of fact, when you go into Ezekiel, the 7th chapter, verse 18, right? Let's grab that real quick. Ezekiel 7 and 18, and it reads, it's not 18, it's 19. It says, they shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is a stumbling block of their iniquity. You see? So they shall cast their silver in the streets, man, meaning that money's going to be that worthless that people just going to toss money in the streets like nothing. Right? Then after the dollar collapses, right? Money collapses. The only thing that goes up, all right, that you're able to pretty much barter with is going to be precious metals. That's going to go up. But eventually that bartering system will also collapse, and none of that will be able to save you neither, because it's also going to become worthless, right? There's going to be no need for gold, all right, if they're coming with an NWO of digital currency, man. You see, they're going to need no more gold, right? As a matter of fact, let's grab this. This is not Ezekiel, Ecclesiasticus 34. Ecclesiasticus 34, and I'll get straight to the point. Verse 4, I believe it is. It's like it's not 34, it's 31. Yeah, 31. Ecclesiasticus 31. And I'll take it from 1 and then jump down, right? It says, watching for riches consumeth the flesh, and the care thereof driveth away sleep. Okay. It says, let's take it from 3. It says, the rich has great labor in gathering riches together. Okay, that's why the rich is going to become rich, more rich, right? And when he resteth, he is filled with his delicates. The poor laboreth in his poor estate, and when he leaveth off, he is still needy. Okay, and that's what's going to happen eventually with the poor. All right, the poor is going to become more poor because they're still going to need to get by somehow, some way, because they are not classified as that rich, right? It says, he that loveth gold shall not be justified, and he that followeth corruption shall have enough thereof. Gold has been the ruin of many, and their destruction was present. It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. Blessed is the rich that is found without blemish and has not gone after gold. All right. So who's the blessed that's found without blemish? All right. That has not gone after gold. All right. The elect. Okay. Because they know that Yahushai's knowledge is what makes you rich. We're rich in faith. We're rich in his word. We're rich with his knowledge. We don't need an actual physical dollar, all right, to make us rich. Okay. Even though we're in a poor state physically, according to this government, we are the richest people on earth according to the faith that we have, you see. And as it says right here, it's a stumbling block. Okay, money has always been a stumbling block and the ruin of many. Okay, because it leads you away from this truth. All right, as it tells you in 1 Timothy, right, 6, and let's take it from 7. It says, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain that we can carry nothing out. And having food and raiment, let us be there with content. You see, be content with the little bit you have. Food, all right, being able to put on some clothes, all right, being able to wake up the next day, all right, and not be put in the damn grave, all right. That's being blessed, all right. Many think that having wealth is true godliness, all right. Oh, well, I got this amount of money in my bank account. I have a nice car. I have a nice house. That's not you being blessed. That's a necessity, okay. But that could be taken away from you in 1 minute. 2 seconds, right? So it says, for the love, Salakia, it says, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. You see, because it's what does the scripture say? It's easier for a needle to go into the eye of a camel than a rich man to make it into the kingdom of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay, so you rather be in that poor state, because the Lord is dealing with the poor, the lowly, the forlorn, right? The ones that are least expected to succeed, the ones that are alone, the ones that are without hope. All right, yeah, we have hope through this faith, but meaning the ones that feel like they're without hope, like they just never gonna make it. Okay, according to the world, right? So it says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. Okay, for the love of money. Money itself is not evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil. If you put it before anything, if you put it before Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, right, it's wicked. All right, because your God is riches, your God is money, right? Which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. You see, and that's what's going to eventually happen. For the love of money, for the love of these things, right? These riches, they're going to pierce themselves with many sorrows. And the one thing that's going to pierce them the most, all right, is going to be this RFID. They're going to be pierced, okay, for leaning on the shadow of Egypt, like it tells you in Isaiah. All right, let me grab that real quick. Isaiah 36:6, right? It says, lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, wherein if a man lean, you see, if a man leans to the support of Egypt, all right, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him, you see. But if thou say to me, we trust in the Lord our power, it is not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away and said to Judah and to Jerusalem, ye worship before this altar. So like I was supposed to just cut it right there. All right. But the point is the first part of that verse, right? We will trust in the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. So we're going to lean to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai rather than to lean to the shadow of Egypt. All right. Because it's going to pierce us through with many sorrows, right? So let's go back to
time now. I've actually made multiple videos about this as well, even when we talk about AI automation with all the layoffs that has been going on. And now we got another way that it's basically been put into place where they're trying to eliminate the middle class, guys. But at the same time, when we look at this conflict, I don't think it's any time soon, because you have reports out here where Trump is basically saying they gave the US, Iran gave the US a very big present worth a lot of money, whatever that could possibly be. But then on the flip side, you got Iran that they're denying to talk, as well as denying any gift or gift that, the claims that the Trump is saying out they're saying that it's going on. Guys, this is the reality. It's basically like lies put in front of people's face to make it seem like this is going good. But in actuality, it's really not, because there are still attacks that are going on over in the Middle East, even though there's peace plans that you're trying to do. I'm trying to be optimistic about this and give the facts. And I really hope they're able to resolve this very soon, because right now you got a lot of countries that are talking about doing a lockdown. And I think the US will probably follow suit within that as well, similar to what we saw within the pandemic, especially as we see these diesel prices go through the entire roof. $5.35 right now as we speak. And just to put that into perspective, $3.72 is just what we saw a month ago, and even a year ago, $3.58, guys. So skyrocketed, like through the roof. Your truckers, your airplane operators, your train drivers, everybody is going to see the effects of this, and it's going to skyrocket through the grocery stores and everything under the sun, guys. It sucks, but this is what is coming to America if we don't find a solution very, very fast, guys.
Listen, energy lockdowns are coming. It's going to be COVID 2.0, but they don't have to force you to do it, because no one's going to have any money to go anywhere. You are already seeing signs like
this is why it's going to be the ultimate lockdown. All right, because the first lockdown that we went through, right, was just a test run, man. This lockdown that we're going to go through is going to be the lockdown of lockdowns, right? It's going to be to basically collapse and end this place and have it in total chaos. All right. We didn't have our energy crisis going on in the first lockdown. We didn't have famine. All right. We had somewhat of what can I say? We had some kind of, problems a little bit with food at that time. All right. Water running out. All right. But again, eventually they gave you what you needed. But see, this time, in order for them to bring in this NWO and make you comply to it and bow down to that system, they have to put a tighter squeeze. They have to put a squeeze that's going to make you bow down. You see, this is why this is going to be an ultimate lockdown and basically the last lockdown, the lockdown of lockdowns, man, because there ain't going to be no third strike or third try. Okay, this devil has to move fast because he has but a short time. Okay, it's lucky.
The airlines just cut 5% of their flights. They're already rationing oil in some Southeast Asian countries where, hey, come every other day to get oil. Wait another 4 to 6 weeks from now. If this war continues, it's going to be work from home again. The price of flights is going to double in 2 months. No one's going to be flying anywhere. Hotels are going to crash. All this Airbnb crap. It's all going to crash just like COVID did. And what is the government going to do? They only got one solution. They're going to send out stimmy checks for everyone so they can compensate for the doubling of their grocery prices and oil prices. Now, another thing to put in perspective, in the 1970s oil embargo, the price of oil.
Hey, is that the new Napoleon? What's all the hype about?
Well, the things to put in perspective, in the 1970s oil embargo, the price of oil quadrupled from where it was at. And right now we are destroying each other's energy infrastructure. This isn't an oil embargo they can just lift and then we can increase the capacity. This energy infrastructure, like the LNG in Qatar, they're saying it's going to take 5 years to rebuild that. So it's just not going to be something we can turn on in the middle of the night. So this is going to be the death knell for the middle class. Whoever's left of the middle class is going to be forced out with just insane inflation on food, costs, insurance, everything going up. And the United States is going to look a lot like Mexico. You're just going to be either really rich or really poor. And the whole era of the strong, vibrant middle class is going to go bye-bye. So make your moves so you get out of the permanent underclass. And I think one of the best ways to do that is Bitcoin, because you can actually save your wealth in a safe haven asset that's appreciating while everything else is going to be deep.
That's false right there. You cannot save your money with Bitcoin, because when the system falls, it collapses, right? If we have a cyber attack, all that shit is going to erase. That's just common sense. That will collapse with it. That's going to erase your. Why you think they want to have a cyber attack? All right, because that's the way to reset everything. The easiest way to reset the money system, right, to reset all data, is by having a cyber attack, and then you could just start fresh again. Okay, and then by them complying to their system, their image, their RFID, all right, now they can start everything all over again. All right, and then track your data from that day on forth. You see. So that what he just said is the most stupidest shit you can ever do, is try to invest in some type of Bitcoin. All right, because Bitcoin right now is still transferable money, man. All right, the digital currency that's to come is going to be non-transferable. It's not going to be able to. No one's going to be able to control that other than the government itself. All right, come on.
Video has to be a promotion for Bitcoin or something like that. I mean, yes, this video is very serious. He talked about some facts and very important information, and then he ended up with Bitcoin. All right, anyways, yes. So the summary, everything before he talked about Bitcoin, I think he was spot on, right? Especially when you talk about embargoes and the prices increasing back in the 70s, all these different things. Yes. 100%. It doesn't flip on like the flip of a switch. It's not like just, oh, if this whole thing just ends tomorrow and everything is going to be normal. No, that's not how it works. Because guess what? People still have to get the gas into their gas station. Like, people still have to recover the reserves that we have, right? Like, this still has to go into place.
I like what he said right there, that people going to have to recover. Just going to be no recovery. That's what's going to make you fall into their system. That's how Esau's going to take advantage of you, you see? Because let's just say it collapses, and then they will give you the image of thinking that you were able to recover from it. You won't be able to, because the recovery will be so long. All right. It will take a long time for you to recover what you just lost. All right. And that's what's going to make them vulnerable to fall into the system, because Esau going to take advantage of that. he gonna come and sweet talk with his lips, right? And with his frame, how he frames deceit, all right? He gonna pretend to help thee by telling you, okay, well, we can make all this come back, all right? Where you had left off if you just bow down to the system, if you just take on this image, all right? So that recovery stage is going to be a hell of a recovery for you, okay?
Shut this off for weeks and think that tomorrow, oh, it's turned back on. It's all good. Green light. The power's back on. No, it's not how it works, guys. And you know what? That's neither here nor there. Here's another perspective on this. Let's check this one out.
Okay, hold on a second. If we were in 2019 right now and someone made a video saying, hey, here's what's going to happen in 2020, 21, and 22, including the 2 week to flatten the curve, which turned into 2 or 3 years, and all the other crazy stuff, you'd want to hear about it, right? To be prepared, to be aware, to know what's coming around the corner. Well, we have an idea as to what is about to happen because of the energy crisis that's looming right now and really in the midst. So listen to this. The International Energy Agency released their Sheltering from Oil Shocks report on Friday, and they listed steps. This is kind of like when we have advisories coming out of the World Economic Forum saying, well, we should probably do this if we want to slow the curve. This is another version of that, and this is what they're suggesting to do to be able to slow or stop the effect of the supply shock. So this is a 10-point plan, and if we were to follow the plan, restrictions to movements would be apparent.
I want to read what
they're suggesting to do.
I want to read what's in the background. It says, the International Energy Agency released its Sheltering from Oil Shocks report Friday, listing practical steps like working from home, lowering speed limits, carpooling, and cutting non-essential flights to ease the biggest oil supply disruption ever from Iran's attacks on shipping. These target road, let me see, hold on.
To be able to
these target road transport, which uses 45% of global oil, and draw, his big ass head is in the way, and draw,
slow or stop the effect of the supply shock. So this is a 10-point plan, and if we were to follow, we should probably do this if we want to slow the curve.
Draw from the something axes to soften price spikes without. Man, his big ass head is in the way. It says, while social media buzzes with something and Trump blame, I ain't even gonna read the rest of it. It was only like 2 more sentences, but I wanted to read the most of it, see what it was saying. So that's what they're suggesting, right? The suggestion is that working from home, lowering speed limits, carpooling, and cutting non-essential flights to ease the biggest oil supply disruption ever from Iran's attacks on shipping. All right, we got most of that. That's what we really wanted to hear. All right, so with the lockdown, that's what's going to come. All right, so
this is another version of that, and this is what they're suggesting to do to be able to slow or stop the effect of the supply shock. So this is a 10-point plan, and if we were to follow the plan, restrictions to movement would be apparent. Now, to clarify, some of this is not confirmed. Some of this is opinion. Some of this is conjecture. We're wondering how exactly this is going to pan out. But listen to this. You got to read between the lines. Alternating days that you can drive on the road based on your license plate. Speed limits lowered everywhere. This is just what they've tabled.
I want to see if I can read it.
Not confirmed. It's not mandated or anything yet. Car-free Sundays was suggested. This says 40% of flights cut, but that's not confirmed, but there would be less air travel. Working from home is already being suggested in Vietnam, Thailand, and all throughout Asia. Carpooling would be heavily suggested, and also people would want to do that anyway if the price of gas and diesel is through the roof. Now, they're going to call this temporary energy measures. We know that. However, remember, it was supposed to be 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and it lasted 2 years. They're calling it temporary energy measures during a war, but wars last decades. We know during Shmovic-19 that took away many people's right to gather. This could affect our right to move. Now, I don't have all the answers to this or solutions per se.
It's going to do that because that's prophecy, right? As the scriptures tell you in 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter, right, verse 17, that a man shall desire to go into another city and shall not be able. You see, it says because of the pride, right? The cities shall be troubled. Okay, so nobody's gonna be able to move when this lockdown comes. It ain't gonna be like the first lockdown, All right. The first lockdown, people were still moving. People were still sneaking out of their houses. Really, they had nobody as around checkpoints, none of that. See, this time around, because they have all these different National Guards and all these different troops set in each state, right? 5,000 plus troops in each state already implanted somewhere, right? Now these troops are going to block off certain routes, main routes to get into other other states, you know, main routes that get you into other towns. All right, those things are all going to be locked down. You ain't going to be able to move nowhere, you see? And that's the easiest way to gain more control of the people, right? You know, everybody's in one place, right? Everybody's locked down in their houses, all right? Everybody's watching the news and social media in their phones. Easiest way for them to tell you the dollar collapse, the whole society collapse. Here comes the new world order. Here comes RFIDs, you know, made mandatory because everyone is at home, locked down, okay, and ain't got nothing better to do than to watch what's going on around the world. And these people damn sure ain't gonna be picking up their Bibles, right? So that's how they're just gonna introduce this whole entire NWO to them, man, through this lockdown, all right?
Other things are going on and spread awareness.
Here we go, guys. And like I said, I'm not here to fearmonger. I'm just here to educate, guys, and, you know, let you know what is out there, what people are saying, and what are their perspectives on this as well. Because, you know, just like you guys are questioning and wondering what's next, I am wondering next as well. I'm out here scouring the internet and finding new information. And
he at the end of it anyway, talking nonsense.
In this video is
the one thing that he said,
right? This guy's an expert.
The one thing that he said was he not trying to fearmonger. Well, we're going to bring a lot of fear by telling you what's about to happen, man, because through the fear of the Lord is how we persuade men. All right. We're going to try to give you as much fear, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. To turn you back to YAHAWAH'S, because everything that's happening ain't got nothing to do. Ultimately ain't got nothing to do with the government. Yeah, it's orchestrated by the government, but who's the one that pretty much puts the thoughts in these elites? YAHAWAH'S. You see? The Lord, right, as the scriptures tell you in, let me grab that, what is that, Proverbs, Proverbs 21, I believe it is 21, Proverbs 21, right? It says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord Yahweh pondereth their hearts. You see? So the Lord is what guides, all right, people wherever they need to go, right? Even all the way down to these elites, okay? He puts their thoughts, their evil thoughts in their minds, right? Well, Satan puts them evil thoughts in their minds, but it's still all from on high. It's from YAHAWAH'S, all right? Because when Satan comes and gives them evil thoughts, because they come in the working of Satan, right? Who is the one that is controlling Satan? All right, YAHAWAH'S, okay? So the Lord is what puts these thoughts in them to make the next move, okay? This is why the Lord knows exactly, all right? He has given us the cheat code to know and be able to discern what their next move is, right? Because it tells you that in Second Ezra's, get to it. Second Ezra 16 and 54, right? It says, behold, the Lord Yahweh knoweth all the works of men, their imaginations, their thoughts, and their hearts, which spake but the word, let the earth be made, and it was made, let the heaven be made, and it was created. All right, you go down to 61. It says, he made man and put his heart in the midst of the body. All right, and gave him breath, life, and understanding. Yeah, and the spirit of the almighty power, YAHWH, which made all things and searcheth out all hidden things in the secrets of the earth. Surely he knoweth your inventions and what you think in your hearts, even them that sin and would hide their sin. Therefore has the Lord Yahweh exactly searched out all your works, and he will put you all to shame. You see? So the Lord is the one that gives these thoughts. So this word, as it tells you in Hebrews, all right, Hebrews 4 and 10. All right. 4 and 12. Salakia, for the word of Yahweh is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the dividing asunder of soul and spirit and of the joints and marrow, and is the discerner of the thoughts and an intents of the heart. You see? So we know the intents of Esau, the intents of the mind. All right. We are able to discern his thoughts because the Lord created those things, right? And because we have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, we're able to understand this devil's thoughts. We're able to understand his next move, right? As the Lord says, surely I will do nothing but reveal my secrets unto the servants, the prophets. So even the secret things that they do, because they're a secrecy, right? They're a secret society, a secret elite, right? We know what their next move is through this word that the Lord has given us, man. That's why they don't want to hear us on these highways and hedges no more. They don't want to hear us on the web no more, because we're opening up the masses. We're opening up the eyes to the elect. Okay, even though the ones that are not of the elect, they're somewhat being woken up to what's going on. Problem is that they're stiff-necked and stiff-hearted, so they're just going to continue, all right, to do their wickedness. All right, they're only going to be able to understand so much and go so far, and then just keep being the multitude born in vain. All right, because they were created to just keep doing wickedness, you see? And then because they're malicious souls, just like Esau, wisdom will never enter into them, okay? But at the end of the day, man, it goes back to these lockdowns, all right, are imminent, okay? These lockdowns are definite. The ultimate lockdown is on the way, okay? It's just a matter of time, okay? This is why the Lord has his prophets out there being watchmen and reporting every single day, all right, of what's going on, all right? Because you that are listening, you that believe, are going to know exactly what time it is, because the prophets are measuring the time diligently within itself, all right? We're making the vision plain upon the tables for you to understand, all right? Because what the vision, all right, is yet for an appointed time, all right? Let's grab that. The vision, Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Okay, so though it seems like it's taking forever, right? It's going to come at the appointed time. All right, remember, the Lord does not stir or move them until the said measure be fulfilled. All right, so things have to happen according to prophecy. Things have to happen according to how he has it in order. Okay, and things don't happen to the said measure be fulfilled. So one thing happens and then it leads to the other. All right, it's a chain reaction, cause and effect. All right, things have to be caused in order for the effect to come into full effect. Okay, so it's right around the corner. It's pretty much here, you know, and you know, we have to be prepared for these things, right? We have to get ready ahead of time, all right, so that we don't get swept away by the flood. Right. This is I'll end it with this. This is matter of fact, before I do, let me grab this. This is Deuteronomy 28. Because one of the curses that we're gonna be under is being under a siege. All right, and to be under a siege is to be on a lockdown. All right, so when you go into Deuteronomy the 28th chapter, verse 40, where is it I want? Let's take it from let's take it from 40. Take it from 47, right? Because thou serve not the Lord Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things, right? You want the abundance of Esau, right? The abundance of this world, right? Of this life of America rather than the abundance of the Lord. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord Yahweh shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. All right. And we went through that time, man. We had, you know, chains and shackles on us. Right. But now, All right. He has us mentally enslaved, and now he's going to come back with a digital yoke, right? Coming to you with a digital God, a digital Messiah, and it's going to come in the way of this RFID, right? It says, the Lord Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand, right? And that's why we speak English to this day. Okay, we're in a nation, we're under the rulership of a nation, and we're in a nation. Okay, we're on a land that's not ours. Okay, we're supposed to be out there in our homeland. We have imposters out there that claim to be us, all right, in our land, all right, and we're here in captivity, as it tells you in Baruch 3:8. All right, you are yet this day in captivity, subject to payments. Okay, and we're under the rulership, all right, of Esau out here. Okay, that's why we are spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Okay. So that nation that came from afar, all right, who is swift as the eagle flieth, right? Basically going into these people that rule America, right? Which is the ancient, the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. All right. It says, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or in the increase of thy kind, and flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And this is the point. It says, he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trusted throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all the land which the Lord Yahweh thy power has given thee, right? NLT says they will attack your cities until all the fortified walls in your land, fortified walls in your land, and the walls you trusted to protect you are knocked down. They will attack all the towns in the land, and the Lord Yahweh thy power in the land that the Lord Yahweh thy power has given you, right? And it says, and thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thine sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord Yahweh thy power has given thee in the siege, right? And in the straightness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee, right? So NLT says, the siege and terrible distress of the enemy's attack will be so severe that you will eat the flesh of your own sons and the daughters and your daughters, whom the Lord Yahweh, your power has given you, you see? And that's what's going to happen. Eventually, you know, they're going to starve us out here. All right. A lot of people, as the scriptures say, many shall die from famine. All right. You're going to have a third that's given to the sword, a third that's given to the famine, a third to the missiles. All right. And it says, which that's pretty much the point. All right. But let's just continue to read it down a little bit more. Right. I'll read it from the NLT to get a better understanding. It says, the most tender-hearted man among you will have no compassion for his own brother. All right. And what's that remind you of? All right. 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. All right. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor. Okay. Because of the tribulations, the lack of bread. Okay. But ultimately, this is why you have Israelites pretty much committing, you know, murder on Israelites, man. We fight against each other. You know, we're always divided. Okay, here it is that Esau is the true oppressor. He's the damn enemy, and none of us stand up against his ass, but we'll stand up against each other and pretty much, you know, kill each other. All right. And it says, his beloved wife and his surviving children. Right. He will have no compassion on his own brother, his beloved wife, and his own children. He will refuse to share with them the flesh he is devouring, the flesh of one of his own children, because he has nothing else to eat during the siege and terrible distress that your enemies will inflict on all your towns. The most tender and delicate woman among you, so delicate, she will not so much as touch the ground with her foot, will be selfish toward the husband she loves and toward her own son or daughter. She will hide from them the afterbirth and the new baby she has born, so that she herself can secretly eat them. She will have nothing else to eat during the siege and terrible distress that your enemy will inflict on all your towns. You see, and this is what's coming, man. A heavy lockdown. All right, that's going to destroy our people. All right. Why? Because the devil has nothing but a short time. All right. So he's going to come down on us with great wrath. Okay. It says, if you refuse to obey all the words of the instruction that are written in this book, and if you do not fear the glorious and awesome name of the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, your power, then the Lord will overwhelm you and your children with indescribable plagues. These plagues will be intense and without relief, making you miserable and unbearably sick. He will afflict you all the diseases of Egypt that you feared so much, and you will have no relief. The Lord will afflict you with every sickness and plague there is, even those not mentioned in this book of instruction, until you are destroyed. Okay. So, man, this lockdown is about to be a wild one. Okay. This is why you have to fear Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. This is why we try to instill fear the same way Esau tries to instill fear in you, right? To make you bow down to his ways, right? Because that's his weapon of mass destruction, right? His greatest weapon of mass destruction is instilling fear in you, because then he could control you. All right. We try to instill the fear of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, all right, not for your control, all right, but for your salvation, you see. For Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua to have mercy upon you, man, because you have a true power that'll stand up for you when you do righteously, you see. And you're going to need all the help you can get in these last days, man, because nothing's going to be able to deliver you out of what we're about to be brought into unless you have the names of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. You can't do this on your own, man. You need the Heavenly Father. You need Yahushua. Okay. That's why brothers is going to have spiritual power, you know. And where's that going to come from? On high. It's going to come from Yahushua, because he go to his Father. If we could do it on our own, what would we need spiritual power for, right? What would we need to call upon those names for, right? But you need Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua in these last days, man, because the God of this world, right? The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So he rules here, man. And the Lord is allowing him to rule all he wants on this side, right? Because it's for our wickedness that we did, right? For sacrificing unto devils, right? He has given us into the hands of the enemy. So we're in the hands of the enemy right now, all right? But when you are set free, as the scriptures say, right? You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free, right? When you are free from this world, all right, you are now liberated into the hands of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua rather than to the hands of Esau. Okay. And the Lord's going to protect you. Okay. Let's see. Something came up. Shalom Malak Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Barakatah to you. All right. So that's pretty much the point, man. Them lockdowns is definitely coming. Okay. And, you know, we have to stay on point. That's what I wanted to get under with this. This is Matthew 24, and let's take it from 37, and it reads, let's take it from 32 to down, right? It says, now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branches is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, even that it is near, so I can know that it is near. So let me read that again. So likewise, ye, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then shall two be in the field, the one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for ye know not what hour your Lord Yahushua does come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore ye be also ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man cometh. You see? So the Lord gonna come like a thief in the night, man. So we have to always be watching at that window, man, for Yahawashi. We have to be watching for what's to come. Okay. And who are the ones that watch? The watchmen, the prophets. All right. And the believers watch by watching the prophets bring out the word and informing you of what's going on. You see? So at the same time, we're both watching. We're watching through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi, through prophecy and through news. And the believers are watching the prophets that are making the vision plain onto them to understand. You see? So I'm going to leave it there through the spirit. Lord willing that you were edified. So with that being said, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Kol Haloim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem, Bachakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad, the Akim and the Akwat that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting a good fight of faith as always. All right. Staying prayed up, enduring as good soldiers of Yahawashi. Your sisters continue to learn in silence, watching the true men of the Lord. All right. And continue to keep throwing them prayers up. All right. And keep yourself protected at all times through prayer. All right. Through fasting. All right. Through the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi, which is a strong tower, and the righteous man run to it and is always safe. All right. That's all we can use in these last days, man, because that's what's keeping us, girded. That's what's keeping us protected. All right. Is the names that are written on our foreheads of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi. That's that dua, to be exempt from judgment. All right. And that's what we want. We want to be exempt from judgment when the time of judgment does come. All right. And that we're not consumed in the time of judgment, that we're not consumed in these lockdowns in the time of the hour of temptation and in World War III. Right. So continue to pray, stay prayed up. All right. And Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi onto your households as always. Shalom. Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahawashi Barakatah.